All right, what's going on, everybody? I'm Blitz5 and hope you guys are doing well. And as per tradition on my channel, we're going to be going over the full patch notes for update 16.2. And these can be much longer videos. So if this is not what you're into, maybe come back for another video or consider following me on social media. I put a lot of great content out there, especially on Twitter, of some of the things we were testing on the live stream today on Twitch, twitch.tv/blitz5 and friends. We went through the update. We're testing out a bunch of fun things, got some crazy footage, which I'll include some of that in this video. But like I said, I'll try to put out some different clips, and you can find me on most social media platforms at Blitz5 or at Blitz5 and friends. So let's get into this update. This is a big one and a lot of big changes to the game, which I'm still not sure how I feel about all this. And it was hard to test out everything. But first we got to talk about when is this going live. So the patch notes and the PTS, which is the public test server, went live a day early. Normally this all happens on Wednesday for PC, but this happened a day early, apparently because of a holiday in Korea where PUBG and Krafton are located or headquartered. So the test server is out right now if you want to try this until March 16th, and that's when the live server will go live for PC. And then unfortunately for console, we have to wait all the way until March 24th. So it's going to be a while until we can play this on console. And because I know there are a lot of new console players out there, we unfortunately no longer get the PTS, which is the public test server. We used to get it on console as well, but that's been taken away temporarily, or really, at least kind of suspended indefinitely, I should say, on console. And then they just have a warning here saying that these things can be changing. They're ever evolving. Things are being put in place, taken out of the game at all times. And we're starting off with something that we might see changed. And right now there's been a lot of feedback and kind of disdain for this on social media. And we'll see how it goes. It definitely does seem overpowered. And this is one of our new tactical gear items. This is the tactical pack, or for short known as the TAC pack. And this item is pretty nuts. So I'm going to read what they say here. So they're kicking it off with this, where you can store almost any type of item and come up with all kind of wacky play styles. And this is definitely true. So you can carry 4 Panzerfaust if you want to, or really 5, because you can hold one with your character. And let me just say that this takes up one of your inventory slots. So all of the tactical gear so far takes up one of your primary weapon slots, excuse me, not inventory slots. You can hold extra weapons. You can even hold 4 mountain bikes if you really wanted to. And here they're explaining that it does take up a primary weapon slot. It's going to spawn on every single map and holds almost every single item. And that's true. And then some caveats here is you cannot put this in the porter truck, and you cannot hold another tactical pack with inside the tactical pack, but you can do a lot of crazy things. So this is one of the first items where if you reload your weapon and put it in the tac pack, when you take it out, it will actually still be loaded. So for example, if you load an M4, drop it on the ground and pick it back up, it will not be loaded. You have to reload that weapon. And this kind of prevents any kind of crazy situation where you could have like 4 guns on the ground and then just rapidly pick them up and keep firing or switching weapons with guns that are already loaded. And it kind of balances out a little bit. But with the tac pack, it removes that for some reason. So for example, we tested a thing out on stream today where I had 5 M249s fully loaded with extended mags, 160 rounds, and we had 800 rounds of 5.56 at our disposal without reloading. So you could fire 800 bullets without reloading, theoretically. I mean, this would be very hard to set up in game, but you get the point. This could be heavily abused, especially on PC, where players are very quick at maneuvering with their mouse and in their inventory. They could quickly switch between a few guns there. I mean, think about this. This is something that is realistic. You could have a character with 2 or 3 M4s. You can actually put an EMT bag in the tactical bag, and then you could have someone with a brand new vest, I'll say a level 3 vest. So that player could quickly, I keep saying switchly, they could quickly switch between their M4s instead of reloading. And then if someone gets them down to low health, they could switch to the EMT bag, say they're behind a wall. They quickly switch to the EMT bag, take a first aid in 3 seconds, then switch to maybe, they could equip the new vest really fast and then switch back to a freshly loaded M4. And this could all happen within, maybe 5 seconds if the person is really proficient at doing this, which is actually faster than just doing a regular first aid, which takes, I think, almost 8 to 10 seconds. So again, I think on console, this is going to be harder to use, but for high level PC players, this is going to be absolutely crazy. And we tested a bunch of this stuff out. We did 5 Panzerfaust, 1 in the primary weapon slot, and then 4 in the tac pack, and you could kind of shoot them off pretty fast. It's not rapid fire because you actually have to wait for the animation of the Panzerfaust to go away to load the next Panzer. But there's definitely going to be some wacky things here. And like I said, if you could imagine a player with like 5 barrels and you don't have to reload them. I mean, eventually after using all 5, you'd have to reload them, but it's definitely a crazy item. And I know I got pretty animated here, but I see how it's cool. And I think the initial idea of this is awesome. If you have someone on your team holding extra vests and extra helmets, I mean, I think this is like the lighthearted way that this was developed is, when you find a level 3 backpack and none of your teammates are around and now you can pick that up for them. But the fact that you can easily abuse this seems like it's a kind of game-breaking item potentially, and definitely problematic in my opinion. I know a lot of people feel the same way about it, so we'll see if they make any changes to that. And then we have the spotter scope here, which is a spotter scope and a rangefinder, and this is actually something that surprised me as well. So this is also going to take up your primary weapon slot, and it has the zoom capability of a 4x scope, and it will give you the distance of whatever you're looking at to a maximum of 1 kilometer. Anything past that will return a value of double ? Meters. And what's interesting about this is that when you are scanning the environment, if you see a player, they'll actually pop up with a white arrow above their head. And you don't actually need to be locked onto that person for the white arrow to appear. I was on Haven and I didn't even know there was a guy underneath the train. And then it popped up with a white arrow on his name, or above where his body was, and kind of told me that there was a guy there, and I didn't even really spot him out. And then if you select that player, they will actually go from having a white tag above their name to a red tag. It's more of like an arrow pointing at the player. And that arrow stays on the player for 7 seconds. And this doesn't matter if they run into a smoke, if they run into a building, that player will have a giant red arrow on their head for 7 seconds. So initially, I didn't know what I thought about this. I don't like the idea of PUBG having an item where it tracks someone's movement. It's so anti-PUBG where there's no UAVs, there's no mini-map or radar or anything like that. So this is basically giving the player the ability to do that. But on the other hand, for you to pick this up, it needs to be powerful, and it's only 7 seconds. So it's not like you can track them forever in the building. It goes away quickly, and I think it's a decent amount of time, but also 7 seconds is a lot of time in a battle in PUBG. So not sure what I think about this. Definitely want to hear what you guys think down in the comments below. You can also tag multiple players at a time. So you could really just have a player standing in the back, scanning the environment, and if they see any white tags pop up, they could just start marking people, and it's really helpful for your squad. And something that, I just don't know. I like the idea of this again, but definitely could be abused. But I think this is more reasonable than the tac pack that was put in before. And again, just to clarify that the spotter scope cannot detect players through a smoke or through a wall. It's only they'd have to be outside the wall or outside the smoke. And then if they go back behind the smoke, they'll still be marked if they were spotted with the scope. All right, and then here they have some changes to the drone. So I think people, including myself, were confused about if the drone was an enemy drone or a teammate drone. So now all ally drones have all green lights and all enemy drones have all red lights. Less realistic, but makes it easier to spot out what's going on. And then here are some amazing additions to the game. The training mode got completely reworked. This is something that's going to need a separate video, so I'm kind of just going to lightly touch over this. But basically, they finally added in the aim and sound lab, and then they've also brought in another, the aim and the sound lab, 2 different things. And they've also kind of redone the training mode, which is amazing, but it's totally different than what we were doing before. Not completely different. It's still got the same structure, but a lot of things have been moved around and there's some new features. So quickly, the aiming situation just allows you to, kind of practice how fast you are at acquiring targets and taking them out and headshots and stuff like that. So it's really good to practice your aim. And then the sound lab is actually absolutely incredible. You guys need to try it out. You stand in an environment and different noises pop up around you, and you have to find what target you think the noise is coming from. So you'll hear anything from a close range vector to your right to a long range SLR shooting behind you, and you have to turn around and try to acquire that target. And this is absolutely crucial at helping players learn the system. I think this is going to be amazing for all new players, but even beneficial for some veteran players, and definitely super beneficial if you get a new headset and you can go in and kind of calibrate it using that, which I think is going to be amazing. It's awesome that they finally put this in. I mean, it took 5 years for PUBG to do something like this, but they're finally stepping up and adding all this stuff in, and better late than never, in my opinion, especially after the game going free to play. And then on top of that, they've also improved some of the targets here, and they've added in a section, I don't know if they mentioned it here, where there's vehicles that are just driving by in the training mode, and you can shoot at them as well. And again, I'm going to come out with a video going over the training mode because there's a lot here, but just know that there's been major changes here, and try to check out all the new stuff that's there. It's definitely really helpful. And they've also gotten rid of all of the weapons in there, well, most of the weapons. So now they're kind of asking you to use the new system where if you hold back on controller, or I think it's, I don't think it's escape, I think it's comma and left bracket button or left arrow button brings up all of the items that you can spawn directly onto your person, which is really nice. And then going down, we have the new map layout. So Haven is back and Sanhok is out for, I think, the first time ever. PUBG has been going with 5 maps for a long time now, rotating maps in and out, but they basically said that Erangel and Miramar would stay pretty much forever. And then Sanhok has stayed the entire time, and it's finally going out, and Karkin, Haven, and Tago round out the last 5 maps. And right now the talk is that Sanhok is being reworked or maybe rolled back to its original state. We're a lot of speculation on what exactly that means. I put out a video on my channel talking about, what went wrong with Sanhok and the additions and changes to that map and kind of player feedback before and after. It's a great video. I highly recommend you guys checking it out if you're interested in that kind of stuff, and I'll link it above and also in the description box below. And then we have some additions for the 5th year anniversary. On some of the maps, you're going to see some 5-year anniversary decorations, which is pretty cool. And then on Karkin, they've added a bunch of different changes to the topography, and also added a lot of trees, walls, rocks, and cover. And you're going to notice this outside of a lot of the major cities, which, if you remember Karkin, if you played the game a lot, there's a lot of open area from the city to some of the hills. And sometimes you can just get camped so easily on Karkin, especially on any of the hills in Karkin, but definitely if you're trying to leave some of those cities. So right now there's more cover to make your way out of those cities. So hopefully it will give, those players a better chance of getting it out, and also more of a reason to land in the cities, because then you have a better chance to leave. And I immediately noticed this when I started playing on Karkin. You could tell that some of the topography had changed, and I think these are all changes for the better, as I played the map only a handful of times today. And then also they tried to make it a little bit easier for players to understand where they're at in the underground tunnels. So if you see a sign for east, E, it means that you're going east. And then also there's X for exit walls and stuff like that. And I think there's signs for W for west, so you can kind of tell what direction you're going in underground, even though you could obviously pull up your map. And this is an interesting change. So I'm not sure what this means, but they have colorblind mode setting will no longer apply to the red smoke from care packages due to a new feature to be added in a later update. So trying to figure out what this is going to mean. So they're saying now the care packages are only going to be red, will no longer apply to the red smoke care packages. So does this mean that we're getting a new type of care package? When I was playing Haven, I realized that the pillar guards on Haven, which are the AI that block or protect the care packages on that map, those buildings have a blue smoke flare outside of them. So does this mean that other maps might be receiving some kind of thing like the pillar guard, or some kind of event or mini game on the map that is designated by a blue flare? Potentially because they wouldn't want the smoke of the care package to match that as well. And then obviously if you're changing colorblind modes, they couldn't have that. So I think it's one or the other. I think we're going to see some kind of new addition to the maps that's going to be signified by a blue smoke, or we're going to see some kind of new care package that comes in the game. And the only way you know the difference is by the smoke. Those are my speculation right now, but there's no evidence of that. And then here's something crazy that I just didn't think we would see, because PUBG has fought back on this many times, saying that PUBG is a survival game. And here we have a massive increase of loot items on Erangel and on Miramar. And it's just crazy the amount of percentages we're seeing increase here. Sniper rifles by 145%. We're seeing 317% on Miramar. Scopes and all this stuff increased by a lot. But something that I'm seeing right away is that heal items and throwable spawn rate decreased by approximately 13%. If anything, I want it to be the other way around. I don't mind not having my favorite gun, but I hate playing PUBG when I can't find any heals, especially with a squad. And you end up just dying or being at such a big disadvantage because of the blue or not being able to find what you need. And then I'm not seeing any kind of heal rate being added or decreased for Miramar, but I could be kind of misreading this, but you could see scopes up by 100% on Miramar because it is such a long range map. DMR's up by 123%. And, we'll have to see. When I was in the PTS, we really weren't getting the large maps. So it was hard to test this out. And I can't honestly tell you guys if I really felt a difference, but I'm going to try and get those maps later and figure it out. And again, if you want to catch some of the action live when I test out PC, you can follow me at Twitch at twitch.tv/blitz5 and friends. Then we have Survivor Pass Punk Wave, which we saw the leaks for this. And then I actually just put out the whole full version of the Punk Wave Pass on my YouTube channel, going over all the missions, items, challenges, and all that stuff if you're interested in catching that. And then we have the 5-year anniversary lobby, some additions to UI, UX, a interesting performance update. So they've actually comprised this new compression technology that has been implemented into the game to reduce the size and improve decompression speed. So it's interesting that the game is actually reduced in size, and it says that the frame rate should be improved thanks to optimizations for render heavy situations such as navigating cities. So famously, there's always been problems trying to drive through Yasnaya and big cities, especially on console. That's like a one-way ticket back to your dashboard in crashing. And I was talking to PUBG Andy about this, and he said that this should really help, especially for the older consoles and stuff like that. So very excited to see this. Hopefully it helps with a lot of performance stuff, especially for us console players out there. And then we have a bunch of bug fixes. I read through here and didn't see anything too crazy that was worth mentioning, but there's always someone that points something out that I missed at the end of the video. But that's about it. Definitely interested to hear what you guys think about this. Do you think that the tac bag is going to be overpowered? And what do you think of tactical gear coming into the game and PUBG further developing soft roles as of right now with the drone, the EMT bag, and these two new additions? As always, thank you all for watching. I'm Blitz5, and peace out.